Hi and welcome back to DACScript. So today we're going to be going over a bit of PowerShell. We're going to do kind of an introduction to PowerShell for those that haven't used it. Most likely you would have heard of PowerShell before, but if you haven't, I'll kind of try and explain what it is, what you can do with it, and I'm also going to go through and just do some interactive stuff with PowerShell. It's not really something that you can go through the theory and then do it. You just kind of have to kind of see how it works to really understand it. So we're going to go through some actual PowerShell today. First things first is there is two versions of PowerShell, or generally two different versions of PowerShell. There's PowerShell on your PC, which is just like the actual shell, and you've also got ISE. So you can see down here we've got a normal one. I've also got 64-bit type ones as well, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to use ISE. I prefer ISE in general. You should, if you've got Windows 7 and above, have PowerShell just installed as default. So just start it up. You'll probably need to do it as a administrator, usually on if you're on a server or something like that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is CmdLets. CmdLets are the core of PowerShell as such, and they follow a verb and then noun kind of way. If I just, there we go, I can really zoom in from this. So they follow verb and noun. So what you're going to be doing is, what do you want to do, and what do you want to do it with, or what do you want to do it to. So a really good example of this, or a really simple example of this, is just get service. So get service, as you can imagine, it gets services. So if we just run this one, I'm actually running it in the shell at the minute. Now I could, of course, run it up in the script here, but I think for the examples, actually just using it in shell is fine. So this will just go in and it'll go and grab the data off of my PC. I've got a load of services running, absolutely ton of them that are going on. But it generally is like that, get service or set or kill service, for example, or stop process or get process. So that's the kind of like core is all of this kind of way I don't say all the processes that are running on my PC at the minute. You can see all of this, so I should see Bandicam somewhere. There we go. So it's just my recording software. So we can see that. We can see how much CPU it's using up apparently. 55.28 seconds, I'm guessing. I don't know, something like that. But you can see all of that kind of information. Now, what you do get with these CmdLets is you can have methods as well. So you can say get process name a star. There you go. That's just ones that start with A. So it's nice and easy on that side. Want it to finishes with A. There we go. I've got one apparently that finishes with A. So it's quite nice and easy on that side. And as you probably saw when we were actually writing it, you can also, you get like an IntelliSense type operation. You can, if you start typing something, so say let's go on process, you can actually press tab or autocomplete. This is something that I really recommend you guys get into really straight away. It'll make writing in PowerShell a lot quicker, and it'll stop those spelling mistakes, which I do a lot. So really easy. So yeah, you can pass different parameters. Really good example would be stop process as well. Of course, you're going to want to send some parameters to that. So you got like ID or name or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to kill anything yet, but we will kill some stuff a little bit later, just not the recording software. But you can just do stop process. If you just do stop process by itself, it's going to kill all. So pretty nice and simple with those. Now you'll notice that it just prints out of the shell. That's because I've not set it to a variable or anything like that. We're going to talk about variables a little bit later. Probably. Well, you can do a little bit of variables now, but pretty much with variables, very simple, quick way of doing it. You just do $, so it's always $, with your variables. So if I say $procs or something like that, you can do equals, and then you can do get service, right? And there we go. You see, it doesn't print to the shell. Instead, if you do $procs, it'll then print to the shell. Now it will be at that point in time. That's what was running. So that's the exact point in time it was running this. So you can capture it. You can capture it, and you can do stuff with it, which is quite good. Right. Okay. So and that as well, you'll notice that you can get like a count, for example. You can count the processes. You do get properties and methods as well. I will talk about that in a second as well. So really quick kind of thing on that. It's always these kind of like get service, get process. You'll get invoke web method or something, rest method, or for example rest method. If you're doing those, and then again you get your different methods on that, and you can do a get. And most of them, if they're lists as well, as you probably saw just then, let me go get it up there. You can see that you can see all of those like post and put gets for your web stuff. REST is basically just a way to kind of like cool things across the internet. It's a bit faster. It is faster than your typical kind of HTTP stuff, but it is basically HTTP. It's all the same. So that's kind of like really basic on the CmdLets, but we will talk about something else as well. If you're used to the world of batch, which is what I've done for quite a while as well. I'm trying to get away from batch. I'm still trying to get away from batch. Batch scripting is absolutely brilliant. You know, it's been around for a long time. There's just a million examples. Your commands will most likely work in here. So I could just do, I don't know, I can't remember most of my batch actually, but CD and D drives. Now I'm on my D drive. That works. This is an alias. So they've actually set up these things called aliases. They're really important. So for example, GPS. Hey, look, it's getting my processes. That's interesting. So GPS is an alias for get process. So most of the things that you're used to, like your CD to move into different places, is the same. You can use it. But if you want to know certain aliases, so if you want to know, just look for certain aliases. You can do get alias, again, this verb and noun. Really, really good. They can do dash name, there you go, that's your property. And they can do G star, and there you go, you can see these, so you can get alias. Gal apparently is the alias for get alias. I don't know why they alias that, but why not? So you can see those kind of things. It's quite nice. It's quite nice and easy. But what you can also do is you can set up your own aliases. So that's pretty cool. That's using the new alias type of way, and then you can do your name. Whoops, don't want to run something. But you could set up your own alias and you just follow the instructions. You know, have a look at it. There's something that we're going to be talking about in just a second called get help, which is really, really useful for that kind of stuff. So I could actually say get help new alias, and I'm actually going to do show window. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, there you go. So you can do things like this where you get to actually show it in a window, which is really, really useful. So then you get all the documentation, you get some remarks of it, you get the related links. To be fair, the links are pretty good. All the Microsoft stuff's really good on this. But as you can see, you can kind of like see everything that's there. So you got a name and what's required and blah, you know, typical kind of stuff that you need to read, which is really annoying. But you can do things like go straight to online as well with those. Opens up. Apparently it will open up Chrome, which is really good. It's my default. So it'll open up your default web browser, show you all the information, gives you a couple like nice little kind of things there. So you go new alias, name, list, and get child item or something like that. So really, really cool for being able to set up your own stuff, set up your own aliases. I can't remember though. I'd have to read up on it. I haven't done too much about the alias type of stuff. I'll probably learn all about it and I'll do a video on it. But I'm pretty sure it's only local to your shell at that point in time, so you could have a command where you run it at the beginning or something like that, because it can get messy and they can get, you know, reused. But I mean, there's how you can search the current aliases with like those kind of commands. You know, actually let's find CD. So there you go. It's an alias for set location. So I could do set location, set dash location, which is the way you should do it, and I can do path instead. You know, you can do something like that to get to D or C or whoops, C or whatever. I think I've pressed. What have I pressed? I think I pressed insert by accident. So there you go. How I could get to actually C instead. So it's nice. It's really cool. It's really, really cool that you can use both. So if you got batch, you could probably just put your batch into PowerShell. I would advise rewriting it though, just to make it. A lot of the people that are going to be coming up these days are going to be used to this set location. If you don't want to do that, there is something called PowerShell steroids or something like that. I think it's called ISC steroids. ISC steroids, you do have to pay for it, but you can actually get it where you press a button and it goes through and switches all your CDs to set location, so it unaliases it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you can do stuff like that. So a couple other things. CLS will clear the screen, so it's really useful to when you're doing stuff like me where I'm just messing around. I'm doing a lot of information. So yeah, clear screen, really good. Actually, I don't know what the get alias CLS is. That's for clear host. Okay, clear host. That makes sense, doesn't it? But I'm never going to stop. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do CLS. It's too quick to kind of do. If you want another bit of help, say you kind of thinking, oh, I need a command to do something with processes. So you can actually do get command. And I don't know. What can I do with processes? You can actually do it like this. So you could do, you know, starts with, or has process in the name. If I could spell it right, it would really help. There we go. So I want to know something. I've got processes running on a load of machines across my entire estate. What can I do with PowerShell to actually interact with those? And you can see a lot of these, which is pretty cool. You can see that there's like a lot of PowerShell management, and some of them in core and all this bits and bobs, but the main ones, you know, get process mitigation. I didn't know that one existed. Start process, stop process. What about service? Because services are always something that fall over on servers all the time, at least where I work. And you could do like a get service to get the status of those services, and then certain ones restart. So you could then, there you go, restart service. Hey, verb and then noun. So it's that sort of thing that you get going on. So the other thing we can do as well, as I showed you earlier, is like get help, and you could go restart service. How do I use this? And you can see it in there, and you can see it in the shell. You can also use a load of the parameters, and you can see all the parameters down here. You know, the one that I kind of like is the show window one. I just think it's quite nice because I can then just drag this off to the screen and do stuff. That's the only real reason I like it, but it's quite good, you know, for that kind of stuff. Now, what you can also get, what you'll probably notice is that this is quite a short amount of information on it. If you do -full, you'll get everything. Full is a lot of information, but what you should get with this sometimes is that's no examples. I'm not surprised, actually. It's a service, so it's kind of pretty simple. But yeah, you can kind of like get more information if you need to, and like I said with that, you know, online thing. This I quite like as well, again, because it's usually got examples on the online. Obviously you're not going to have this for everything. It depends on if somebody's linked it. When you create a module or you create a function, you can then link it. I'll show you guys how to make functions and make modules later on in another video if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and how you actually set up all this help bits and bobs, but not on the website, but inside the actual shell itself, so you get it like we saw earlier. So another thing, if you want to know, say for example, methods and properties and things like that of certain objects, because we are going to talk about this in a second in quite a bit of detail. PowerShell works with objects, so it will return an object instead. Now, if you're not too familiar with object-oriented programming and things like that, so when we do, like, let's do an example. Let's get service, right? So if we do get service, what this is actually returning us is an array of objects. So each of those objects will be something. I don't know what they're called, but it'll probably be like I have absolutely no idea what it's called, actually, what the object will be returned. But it will return an object. You actually need to know what it is at all. I've never needed to know what it is. But you'll get an array. So a single value would be just like one of these, where it's got, you know, status is stopped, and name is Adobe Flash Player, and display name is this. All that kind of bits and bobs. That'll be me that stopped those. So all of those, that's just one of them. An array is basically a list. It's multiple objects, so you can have multiple objects in there. So if we set serve equal to get service, and you notice I didn't actually autocomplete. It's very bad of me. I'm still getting used to it. Can't type. See, if I've done that, it will work. So if I type it into get service, you can also just look at it all, and then you get all of them. Or you can also use the array to actually have a look at them. And it starts with 0. One thing you got to know about arrays, it starts with 0. So there's our Adobe Flash Player. We can have a look at that. But you do get properties and you get methods off of different objects. So when you do dot, so I'm looking at specifically number 1, this single one here. If you do it with just serve, you will see properties of them, like count. So count the number of services that I've got on my PC. So that's a property rather than, and that's property of the array. It's kind of like a calculated one, but yeah, you can kind of see that. But you'll notice that when I went onto the array side of things, I then get all the properties of that object. And there's more than what I'm seeing here. So you got status, name, display name, and that's because those are defaulted. So those are defaulted to show you, because that's what they've set it up to show. But there's all this other stuff. So if I go start type, okay, I want to see what that is. Manual. Okay, cool. But you can have a look at those, and of course they can have subtypes. And I don't know if there's any examples. I go value free, so I can actually see the value of that rather than the display name, which is, you know, manual. I don't know why you'd want that in as an administrator, but you can do it. So that's how you get at it. You get those. Those are properties because they haven't got the. If it was a method, it'd be like that. It'd be, you wouldn't have something like that. But if it was a method, it'd have those two. I'm going to show you guys how to do that in a sec. But it's nice and simple. So at least you get the IntelliSense type stuff. But you might want to just know right off the bat what methods and everything you get. And there's something called getMember. I think it's a really weird phrasing, but if we, for example, create a string, hello world. Everyone loves hello world. What we can do is we can do something called piping this, and we're going to talk about pipeline later on in this video. But you can pipe that to get member, right? Then what we get is this huge amount of information, right? I say huge amount of information. You get the methods, and you also get properties as well. So there's only one property, which is length, because it's a string. So they go system string. So we could actually do, when I had those, that I could pipe that into get member. GM is the alias for get member. It's really easy. So there we go. You know what I was saying? I didn't know what type it was. It's a system.service process.service controller. I don't care. I just like this stuff. This is what I want. But you can see there's a load of different methods that you can do, like close, refresh, stop, start. So you can just call them direct as well. So you can actually grab something and actually call it directly, which is quite cool. Those are the kind of things that you can do, and that's just me looking at just this as this single object, which is serve $serve as an array of objects. And of course, you can loop through, and you could do certain things with each of these and interact with those methods. Not a problem at all. But really, really cool. So when we had a look at those, we could see there's a load of methods on the string type, system.string, which is great because we've got like stuff like replace and pad and everything else. But we've also got length. So let's have a look at something here, right? I'll clear the screen in a second. But we've got hello world there, so we saw that we got this length. So if we do dot length, there it is. 11 characters. That's cool. So you can at least interact with objects in that way, which is really, really good. Really, really cool. So if we talk a little bit more about objects, so like I was saying, objects, they're containers. They're like let's talk about it. It's predefined object. It's a predefined thing. So a service is going to have, service again. Service is going to have certain properties like. God, I've got a lot of services on my PC. I need to look at this and just clean them up. So we've got a status, you got a name, and you got a display name. So those kind of things that you actually see on your PC using get service. They've got properties, so they're always going to have those, and every single service is pretty much the same. It kind of fits the same model. It's like a mold. It's like a model. So that's basically what an object is in a real basic level. So like I said, you can get the like length. You can also do set variables into it, like I was saying, get an array of them, and it just builds it. So get process, for example, system diagnostic.process object. You can also do calling methods off of it as well. So let's do that. Let's open up Notepad because I'm going to kill off Notepad. Not Notepad++. I don't want to do that. It's because I always open up Notepad++. I don't know if anyone else is like that. But what we're going to do, we're going to shove this on this screen here. We're going to shove that one on there and go help or I don't know, something like that. So stupid. Clear the screen so we can got this. So if we just do, if we just try stuff out, whenever you're doing a get, just do it. Get process. We're going to look for Notepad. Okay, cool. We've got Notepad. So let's just do proc equals that get process Notepad. Right? We've only got one. Spell it right again. Hit that. Hit that key. The tab key to auto do it so you don't make mistakes. Otherwise you get errors all the time. So there we go. We've got this variable which is proc, and it's a single process. So what we can do off of this is we can kill it, and we can call a method. So that's a .NET method. That's one thing I haven't talked about. PowerShell is built off the .NET framework, so it has access to everything that's .NET, which is absolutely awesome. Let's kill it. There we go. It's gone. So even though we had essentially taken a copy of it and taken this, here, let me just zoom that up. So even though we had actually set a variable and we'd set it to this get process notepad, we can actually interact with the .NET methods in order to kill it because it had like a typical like SID, like an ID. Yeah. We got the SID in there. No, I don't know. SI, what the hell's that? I have no idea what that is. That's dead anyway, isn't it? So it's gone. But there should have been something PID. There we go. PID. So that was PID. There you go. Process ID. There you go. I couldn't remember it. Did I just do $PID? That's really weird. Or is that? Yeah, that's not right. That's definitely not. That's what this is. There's a method somewhere, a property somewhere, which will be its ID. It just passes it to that method, and it knows what you're talking about. It will just kill it. So it's really cool. Another way, if you want to do it, of course, if we open up Notepad again, I'll show you. the two different ways. So you can either use the .NET way of doing things, or you can also use the PowerShell one. So I'm going to put not again in here, right? Okay, so for whatever reason. So we've got, if we do the get again, because it's going to have a new ID. So we've got proc. So let's have a look at proc, which is our notepad. See that that's in there. Let's just do, there we go, SI, handle, might have been a handle, or SID, there we go, it'll be its ID. It'll be quite clearly its ID. If we just do, let's have a look at it as well. It's going to grab it on processes, so we'll have a look at it. There we go, notepad's there. What's its actual properties? I can't remember what the details are. Where's its ID? I'm so not used to looking at stuff on PCs at all, and I really do mean it. So, go to details. There we go, that's better. That's what I wanted to PID. So yeah, the ID is the ID, PID. They call it something different in here for whatever reason, but that's fine. It's probably called that in the background. They've just, you know, aliased it on the front end of this to PID, so we can see the ID of it, so that gets passed. What we can also do though, instead of calling the method off of it, you could do stop process. So there you go, you got a nice little thing. You got name and you got notepad. That's just killed it, so it's now gone. So there's two different ways of doing it really. You can either use the .NET type stuff, or you can use this stuff. I would recommend using this almost always, because what you'll find is there'll be, especially when you're writing your own functions might not be doing .NET type stuff. They might be doing web stuff. So they might be doing a load of posts and a load of gets and a load of puts and a load of deletes or whatever. They could be doing loads of different things. And they might not necessarily be these .NET type things that you're playing around with. So if you use this, it's like a container, even if that is just going and doing this proc kill. At least you've got it there. So it's not too bad anyway. So that's a little bit on your kind of like object side of it. I kind of did explain quite a bit of it before. So let's go into like MISC bits and bobs and do your maths. So you can just do maths. You can just do as you would imagine. You know, 40 minus 50 minus 10. Cool. You know, it's typical kind of clanky, you know, computer maths. It's that kind of stuff. So pretty normal. One thing that's really cool in PowerShell, really cool, is that it knows what a megabyte is and what a gigabyte is, and it will be able to divide for them, which is something that I've not really seen before. So you could do 40 GB divided by 650 or something like that, you know. Cool. It's just giving it to me. It knows what you're talking about. So it knows what a gigabyte is, and it knows what a megabyte is, and it does some pre-maths in its head to convert those to the same things that they can do basic mathematics off of it. Really cool. So in this case, yeah, we've got like 40 gig of storage. We've got 650, I don't know, CDs or something. I don't know, 60 CDs. So it's 63 CDs we can get on there. So we're gonna have to have somebody that's gonna, you know, taking off 63 CDs. They got to put that in the drive 63 times and pull off all the data that many times to fill up a 40 gig hard drive. Whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's loads of examples like that. It's a really bad one, but you know, you can use that. It's probably one of the coolest functions that I've seen in PowerShell, because then you could just grab data as it is, and as you probably know, if you've been working with Windows type things, it comes in all different formats, kilobytes and kilobytes per second, megabytes per second, and gigs a second. It's all in totally different kind of bits, and if you wanted to standardize it all, you could really easily, which is great. So let's talk about dates. Dates are a big pain in the butt, but PowerShell's pretty good at them, because they've done some pretty good stuff. So for example, with a date, now one thing about objects and things like that, you can actually say that this is specifically an integer. For example, 20 is definitely an integer, or you could do it as a string, you know, say this is a string without a doubt. So you could just do let me just do something like x equals that as a string, and x minus, you know, okay, apparently PowerShell will know that actually that number is a full number, and therefore it can do maths off it. I was hoping it would like do something and say it's an error, it's a string, you can't do it, but apparently it can. It's cleverer than that. So that's something I didn't know, but now I know. So yeah, you can put the type in front of it, which is with these square brackets, which is a bit strange because it's an array to me. Square brackets are always an array, but you can put them in square brackets and say string. What you can also do with date times, as you can say, it's a datetime format. So if we do $res as a result, date time, what we're going to do is we're going to say 08, 01, 2018, like that. That then knows it's the date, and you'll notice, look, it doesn't in the format. So it's recognised, it's taken my input string. Now, I'm in the UK, so this is actually the 8th of January 2018, quite a while ago now, actually, since it's Feb 2019. But you can see it's actually picked it up, it's already converted it. It knows what my local kind of clock is, so it's been able to pick that up. Actually, no, it hasn't. No, it's not at all. It's actually gone with August, so it's August 1st. So that's one thing I need to know about. It's thinking that's an American date format. So what I could do is actually do this. There we go. People in the UK, be aware. Now if we do that, now it knows what is generate. So at least if you put it in the universal format, I'll be able to convert it. If you put it in that format, it's going to come out American. Be aware of that. That's something I didn't know about, but I would have played around with it before ever using this. But you know, you can set it into there. What you can also do, of course, from here, you can say the day. Okay, well, it's the 8th day. So you get a load of properties and methods as, like, you know, with everything else. Day of the year. It's the 8th day of the year. Well, yeah, actually, that's true. I didn't choose the exciting date. Milliseconds, 0, because I've not got any. What about a get time formats to file time? What the hell's that? There you go. Apparently that's file time. I have no idea. So there's a lot of methods and bits off of it which you can do. Let's have a look at the other ones though. At least we get this when we scroll down to long date string. Yeah, let's do that. I don't know why it doesn't complete the complete this at all. It's really annoying. But at least you can see everything in there. So we've got like these dates. And of course what you can do with that, I'll just go back to doing $res. You can also treat that and do, for example, date time now. So what's the difference? It's just giving me the difference. How cool is that? So it's able to do maths with different dates and times. For you guys that don't know, time and dates are a real nightmare, especially even in one country. If you have like British summertime, for example, we have where we move the clock forwards and back an hour every year. You know, like every 6 months, we basically do it. We switch. That's an absolute nightmare because you have to then calculate that in here to get the real time. There's a load of different countries, of course, they have different time zones. So at least PowerShell was able to deal with that. They've already written around it. They've done it before, so they've been able to do it, which is really, really cool. But we can actually have a look at this, and we can just do this. So if we set res2 equals to res, right? Oh, that sounds a little bit strange. But we're going to put that into a variable so that we can then have a look at it as an object, and we can just do res2 dot total days. There we go. Let's just have a look at that. So we can just pull out that one. It's quite cool. So, you know, there's a load of different things that you can do. 400 days apparently since there. How many milliseconds, you know? Apparently not very many milliseconds difference. Because I think it's looking at the entire thing rather than anything else. There we go. Total milliseconds. That's what I wanted. There you go. I don't know why you'd need that. I don't know. But you can use it to do really pinpoint type things if you're pulling in dates. And you got them in different formats, which is really, really good. Really, really cool. So the last thing I want to talk about in this PowerShell introduction is pipeline. What is pipeline? We saw it earlier, very, very quickly earlier when I did the get member off of Hello World. I don't know if you guys remember that. I'm not expecting you to remember any of this at all. PowerShell, you'll kind of just need to know a little bit of the details. But when you use the vertical pipe, this kind of vertical bar here, that allows you to pipe like an object through. Now, certain things can just accept anything. There is a load of rules around it. Not everything can accept pipeline input, and not everything will accept pipeline input. But a lot of the defaults that you get can do. Let's go over a really nice, simple kind of thing. So if we do get process, as you saw before, it's really horrible and really, really big. I want to sort it not by... So at the minute, it looks like it's been sorted by process name. This is alphabetical. I want to sort it by... What's that column? No, actually, I want to sort it by... Let's go do service instead. Service is a little bit more interesting, actually. So get service. Have a look at that. Because we can have a look at the status. We're going to sort it by status. So if we wanted to sort this data that we've got here... Oh, God, this looks horrible. It's all already defaulted by display name. We can actually sort it by status instead. We use pipeline for that. So we can do get status. You can get service. Pipeline. Pipe it in. We'll use pipe. You can use sort object. So again, verb and noun. And what we're going to sort it by? We're going to sort it by status. Not that, like that. status. Cool. It's done it. Sorted it by status. That's exactly what we wanted. So it did what we said. Sorted by status is ascending by default. You can do it descending as well. I think you do. There you go. Dash ascending if you want it that way around, which is really good. So it's really, really nice and easy to do things like that. So you can pipe that. Another one. You can pipe it into a where object, and I'm going to say why this is not always the best idea. So property object. I don't know. Display name. Yeah, display name. I don't know. I can't remember. I hardly ever use this one. I'll tell you why in a second as well. So what have we got over here? So equals greater than all this kind of rubbish here. Pop a variable in. Let's try. No value. Starts with A, I think. Position 2, where object command property. Oh, okay, maybe it's there instead. No, okay. Let's not do that then. So I haven't got a clue without having a look at it, but I haven't really used it much, and there's a reason I haven't used it much, which is let's just do like where. Okay, there you go. That's how you use it. Apparently, no, that didn't even work. That did not work at all. Where object, it's like A. Is that because it only starts with it? Because these have all got A in them? Any of them got Z in them, X or something, I don't know. Something that makes it, cuts it down really, like, completely. Let's just go grab that. If you ever want to cancel out of something, do Control and C. Will bring you out of it. That's pretty common in most things, but there you go, right Z. No, it's nothing like that. So that actually does work, there we go. No one's got X in it. What about W? Yeah, some with W in it. So as you can see those there, that's a lot better. That's what I was kind of wanting to see. And you can of course pipe other stuff into, you can keep them piping basically with these. So you can then do a sort object by status, you know. So you could then pull everything in and then sort it. And do a load of other stuff, then you go, actually no, I don't like the data like this, I want to pipe that over to something called, like say format object. Not a format object, format list. There you go, format list. If you wanted it in a, God, that's horrible. If you want it in a list format, you can do something like that if you wanted to. My favourite is out grid view. It's just really cool. It's really, really cool. So at least you're going to see all of those there. In like this kind of like format here, and you can then filter on it as well, so you can do your, you know, AD, yeah, sense or something like that, I don't know. You know, you can have a look at it and see what's going on. Let's have a look at SQL, there we go, let's look at SQL. So I got, you know, MySQL and MySQL, whatever, SQL Server, all of that kind of stuff on there, which I've been doing. I've got all of those running there, so I can actually look at them on there. Via this outgrid view. You'll notice the title's really horrible with outgrid view. You can, of course, well, as you would expect, title. Just go services, you know, and then you've got the title on there. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Outgrid view is my favourite out of all of them. But yeah, you can basically pipe everything in. The reason you wouldn't use where object. So what this will do, it will get all the services regardless. Then it will pipe them through. Then filter. So you usually want, if you want speed, you want to filter right at the source. Imagine if you did this with an Active Directory of 100,000 users. You'd be downloading the entire Active Directory to your shell, then filtering to look for people that start with W. So you'd get in trouble pretty quick. I'd say so. It'd not only take ages to actually get, but you'd also be pulling down all of AD. So it could be slowing down AD and everything. You know, it's not a good idea. It's a really bad idea. So try and do all your filtering off of this side first, and then pipe it in. You know, use pipeline for stuff like sort object, and outgrid view, or outputting it as a CSV file. You know, or then posting that information to the web. You know, you can do all that kind of stuff with it. You can do all of that, which is great. So there's another really good thing. about with pipeline. Well, not really with pipeline, but one thing to be aware of with pipeline. So say, for example, we want to do get process where name is like note, okay? Right? So there's nothing like note at the minute. Let's just open up Notepad. Okay, apparently Notepad++, well, that's fine. Let's open up Notepad++, and let's also open up Notepad, just to prove, or show you guys what I'm going on about. I'm going to move that over to there. I'm going to move this over to here. Where's my normal Notepad? My normal Notepad's over there. Okay, so we've got Notepad here. So if we get the processes, we've got these two processes now. We've got Notepad and Notepad++. What if we want to write a script on a server that then kills the process of those? Because there's some software that there is software that you cannot stop from auto starting, or a user starts it up and then it never dies. You know, you could have something where you're searching on servers. So you've got Citrix and they're opening up different sessions, and it always leaves something open in the background. You want to kill those off after a certain amount of time. So you've got some way of identifying them that's better than this dash name note. But just imagine this is what you got to do. You got to kill them off. Your boss wants you to do that. So how do you actually go about it? Well, you would think, I'll just pipe it to kill process. And you're right. You could just pipe it to kill process, kill off those two. What if you're not too sure about it? What if you're like, I wonder if there's any more that are called note, and you could do the get process dash name. Well, what you can do is you can put what if on. This is awesome. What if is absolutely awesome. So dash what if. Apparently it doesn't have it. It's not recognized name, kill process. Why is that not a name? Is it really not kill process? I'm going to have to look through the help. Give me 2 secs there. This is a good example of how you actually do it. So get help or get command for, as we saw earlier, process. Stop process. There we go. So it's stop process instead. So almost there. But yeah, there's something called what if, which you can then do. And what if is really cool because it says, what if performing the operation stop process on target notepad. This would be really good if you had a load of if, you know, if you piped it in there, if this, and then do this, and this, and do this, and loop and do all this crazy stuff, right? You could do loads of them. But at least you can then see that this is going to do, what it's going to do is it's going to stop process on target notepad, etc. and so forth. So really useful and really good. So then we can go, yeah, that is exactly what we want it to do. There we go, it's entered those. Cool, it's done exactly what it said on the tin. Perfect. But that's it, guys. Really, really basic kind of overview. I know it's a little bit rough, but PowerShell is quite interesting to actually go over. But what we'll do is we'll start building up some PowerShell on the channel as well. And if you guys have got any specific examples you want me to go over, then let me know. If not, I'm just going to be going through a lot of the things that I've been using. So using it for example, REST API calls, you know, you type of web requests, creating CSVs out of that information, polling AD as well. It's really cool to actually be able to poll AD. I mean, the main thing about PowerShell is that it kind of ties together all a load of different different components that are with, especially Microsoft applications. It pulls all of them together and allows you to really go off and build and play with them and mix them together and do a load of different things. But I'm also going to go over SQL Server as well. So how do you actually administer SQL Server with PowerShell? Because you can do all of it in PowerShell, which is great if you want to script it on a big script and then just have that run across a server. But it's really good if you had a list of servers, or you want to do, you know, a load of operations across a load of different servers at the same time. So that's where PowerShell comes into play, where it's really good. You could run a script on registered servers in SQL Server. That would be one way to do it, to run them across them. Or you could do it in PowerShell, and you could have open up a load of sessions from your PC and do, you know, 4 tasks on all of your instances all at the same time. It's up to you guys what you'd want to do. If you, for example, had a small team where you're the SQL Server expert and the rest of them are, you know, Microsoft Server guys, PowerShell might be the way to go because they'll understand it. So they'll be able to understand it even if they don't understand all of the SQL side of things, doing all the clicky bits or writing it directly in SQL as a scripting language, T-SQL. But they'll understand PowerShell, and therefore you can actually make your team a little bit better. If you've got a mixed team, it depends on how your department's set up. But yeah, if there's anything you guys want me to go over, please do let me know, and we're going to start building up a little bit of PowerShell on the channel. So thank you very much for watching, guys. See you on the next one.